Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Snow, and this is my final video that I will be recording for History 711, one of the more enjoyable courses that I've had here at Liberty University. It's been a really good time. Learned a lot. And this week's topic for this discussion board is actually really interesting, and my opinions are opinions, and just letting you all know, I do not like politics very much, and I do not like the American political system very much. Although I acknowledge that there are far worse forms of government it could be. Just because it could be worse does not mean it is ideal. Um, One of the articles that I found while researching for this particular topic really highlights my opinion, and it is by a Donald M. Nonini, and he says he's making the case for America's political system to be an emergent kleptocratic oligarchy. Um, Firstly, that's a lot of fun to say. Secondly, it does express my views rather nicely in that America's government is both big enough to cause problems and small enough to cause problems. And so we're going to get into what that means here in a second as soon as I plug my computer in because my battery is about to die. Here we go. So, what do I mean by it's both big enough and small enough to cause problems? Well, what I mean by it's big enough to cause problems is the fact that it is staggeringly inefficient when it comes to uh, enacting new policy, um, helpful or unhelpful. Um, Sometimes it takes entirely too long things to go through, such as the recent Nasdaq trade thing. Now, whether that will be beneficial or negative for the American people remains to be seen, seeing as it's only been really a thing for a very short period of time, especially as far as things go politically. It still took 6 months to longer for that to really make any headway, and that causes problems. That's inefficient. And when we're talking about the economy of a nation, it needs to be more efficient. And we're also large enough that partisan differences become problematic. It's not just he's with this party, she's with this party, she's with this party, he's with this party. Um, it's especially with the 2016 presidential cycle, become abundantly clear that party lines at the current governmental size are crippling. And honestly, there's not really any positive way for it to go. If it gets bigger, it gets more crippling. If it gets smaller, it gets more crippling. It's just a mess, which is why Thomas Jefferson spoke against partisanship. But here we are. But when we come to it's also small enough to cause problems, well, we come back to the kleptocratic oligarchy, which what this means is that kleptocratic oligarchy is an oligarchy that takes power away from its citizens. To Nanini, what this means is that, and I personally agree with him, in many instances, the American government is led by a small group of individuals who exercise near despotic power. And in many political conversations that I've had with friends and family, I have stated that America is essentially electing the king that it will have for the next 4 years. Will he be a king who abides by the Constitution or does not? It varies very widely from election to election. And I feel that, to use a perfect example of Virginia's gun laws, the voice of the people is not really being heard by its government. The government, for instance, something that I've also talked about a lot and Nini discusses as well, is the fact that when it comes to elections, we're less electing the person who listens to us most and more listening to the person who intends to do more things that we agree with. So instead of, for instance, let's say voting Joe Schmo for senator, because Joe Schmo is going to listen to you. You're voting for Joe Schmo because, okay, yes, he's pro banning glue in schools, which is kind of weird, but he's also supportive of planting more trees, and he thinks that the stoplights should remain green, red, and yellow instead of changing to blue, orange, and periwinkle, like his opponent. Okay, that's weird. But that's not what it is. It shouldn't be, I'm voting for this guy because this is what he's going to do. It should be, I'm voting for this guy because he is going to listen to me on what we should do. That's what a representative democracy is supposed to be, and that's not what we have now. Go to any election and you will be handed a pamphlet that will tell you what this guy is going to do should he be elected. I personally disagree with that. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's how it should be at all. I think it should be a more, I'm voting for this guy because he's going to listen to the people, not he's going to do this thing which the people happen to like. It should be he's going to do what the people want him to do. And so our government is large enough to be inefficient and just has just enough of a tinge of democracy left to be borderline schizophrenic, but in the same token is small enough that it has an oligarchic feel to it, a feel of the few holding power over the many. And that's what happens is because America is a representative republic, a democratic republic, we have many of the flaws and downfalls of both governmental systems. We have the inefficiency and the division of a large democracy and the power distance and oligarchism, really, of a republic. Now, again, this is not saying that I don't like America or anything like that. I love my country. But I do see room for improvement, but that improvement is borderline impossible to achieve without a period of time of extensive unpleasantness, and I don't want that for my country at all. And so, like anything politically involved, it's immensely complicated and very difficult to talk about without losing your head. And that's one of the reasons I avoid politics in general, is because it's so difficult to be subjective about. Now, I hope you all have a wonderful spring break. I hope you enjoyed this class as much as me, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you again in our future classes. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.